A few quick things. This Saturday, I'll again be given that presentation, Are You Good Enough Yet? I really like it and believe it will do some good. Knowing it's not for everybody. If you're able to join us, you can come to the 5 o'clock Mass. We'll have some pizza afterwards, and then we'll start the talk at 6:30. If you want pizza, just let us know as soon as possible. And otherwise, just come at 6:30 if you're available. We will also live stream it. Secondly, next weekend we begin a parish mission with Jim Ryan, who'll speak at the beginning of all of our Masses, then present Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday nights. You're all welcome. And then just me, why, I don't know, but just a little bit of what's going on in my heart these days. I remain heart sick at the seeming intractable violence in the Mideast, and in particular these days, the suffering of the people of Gaza. I just can't even imagine. I just try not to almost. It just breaks my heart. And I pray that for peace there and in Ukraine and there's just such suffering that we don't even ever see. So that's my heartache. My joy remains, I just love what I do. We really do have a wonderful staff here. And I'm still working 85, 90-hour weeks, but they're just, because of our great staff, it's meaningful stuff that I don't know, I think God would have me do. And I just find joy, like in giving those talks or preaching or loving folks as we go along. It's really a great joy. So thanks for joining. Here comes the homily. See you. Here's the gospel question before the homily. Today's first reading tells the story of Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son Isaac. It strikes me that it must have been awful when Isaac realized that's what was happening. Our gospel question, what is worse than being Isaac? Here's the homily. Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his only son Isaac is quite a story. Quick aside now, please understand this story was told to help people move away from the false idea that God wants human sacrifice, or that God ever wanted that. No, God never wanted human sacrifice. Back to the homily. It's still quite a story, right? Abraham making that long, lonely journey to the top of the mountain, dragging a heavy heart, walking next to his beloved and only son, Isaac, and carrying a knife, thinking that God wanted him to use that knife to slaughter his only and beloved son. I mean, can you imagine? Certainly there's much to say about Abraham in this dramatic story. But there's another character that gets overlooked, if you ask me, and his name is Isaac. Isaac is the one whose role is to be slaughtered. It has to be said, it flat out stinks to be Isaac. Now, at first, Isaac didn't know that he was the intended sacrifice. He didn't know what the plan was, but he trusted his dad and went along doing what Dad asked. But it just had to be an awful moment, a terrible and heartbreaking moment, when it dawned on him that he was the intended sacrifice. His dad was going to kill him. I wonder what that did to Isaac. I mean, what was it like to look at his dad whom he trusted, his dad whom he loved, and know that his dad was just about to kill him? Yes, it stinks to be Isaac. And my friends, sometimes we each get that role. Sometimes we are Isaac. I mean, usually nothing quite that dramatically. But we each end up being the victims sometimes of others' distorted thinking, of some form of institutional injustice, of someone's selfishness, or even cruelty. And you don't get picked because the teacher or the coach has favorites. A family member steals your share of the inheritance. Your spouse cheats on you and it becomes public on social media. A drunk driver smashes into the car of someone you love and kills them. Someone lies about you and tries to get others to hate you, and you just don't even know how many people believe the lies. Sadly, we all end up being Isaac sometimes. The crucial question is, then what? Of course, we have a whole mixture of emotions and reactions, and there are all kinds of possible ways to respond. It's important to acknowledge our pain, speak up as we can against injustice, and step away from abusive situations if we're in them. But there is also this dangerous possible response that is tempting for many, whether we even are aware that we're being tempted or not, and it is this: after we've been victimized, to then give ourselves permission to victimize others. I've seen that sadly too often, and I've seen what happens to people who choose that response. Now, whether or not we're aware we're doing so, this is that temptation. I've been hurt, so I'll hurt others. There is no life there. That is not the way of Christ. It's not what he did. He is the victim who did not victimize others. And he counts on us, his followers, to be like him. And you might think, yeah, easy for him. He's Jesus. I'm not. But it is a delusion to think that taking out our anger on others will help us in any way. That's just a false light. There's no life in creating more victims. In addition to whatever harm we do there, it just really also kills our own souls. Our own souls. Yes, it stinks to be Isaac. The crucial truth, and here's the point of all of these words, it stinks even worse to become the one who then victimizes others. Jesus knows that each of us, in big ways or in small ways, will get treated unfairly or get taken advantage of. People can be mean and hurtful and make our lives hard. But there's something that no one and no thing can take from us. No one can take away our dignity. No one can take away our joy. No one can take away our ability to choose to be loving, to choose kindness, to choose goodness. We can give those away. No one can take them from us. That was the power in Jesus as he hung upon the cross and forgave those who killed him. And my friends, that power is in each of us. There's a power in here, that place where we are both ourselves and more than ourselves. We can always draw on that. Nothing can keep us from choosing goodness, no matter what happens to us. Years ago, I met a man. I've told a few of you about him. He had buried his daughter, the victim of a drunken driver who swerved into her lane and killed her. Several weeks after the funeral, we talked about what it felt like to be him, trying to go through life without his daughter taken from him in such a senseless act. We talked about how food tasted like sawdust, how it broke his heart to watch other members of his family grieve, that's how lonely it was to watch the rest of the world go on as if nothing happened. And at one point he just put his head down for a while, and I just wasn't sure what he was thinking. They looked up at me and said quietly, "I will have anger, but I will not have hatred." He said, "If I have hatred in my heart, that senseless act of violence claims another victim. If I have hatred in my heart, that senseless act of violence claims another victim." This heartbroken man knows the profound truth. There is a price we pay for dealing with our hurts by wanting or trying to hurt others. I don't want you to ever be victimized. I don't. What I want even less is that you or any of us would then victimize others. There's just no life there. There's no salvation there. There's no joy there. There's only darkness and death. But there is another way, the way Jesus chose. And with all my heart, I believe his way is worth it. I'll say it again. It flat out stinks to be Isaac. The crucial truth, it stinks even worse to then become the one who victimizes others.